Thanks for joining us today to see the new version of some information on the new release of QueueMetrics. My name is Lorenzo, and I'm here with Kevin
Hi, everyone.
to talk a bit about the new feature that are in this new release of QueueMetrics. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is in general what we had in mind with this release, and this can be summarized very easily in terms of outbound, and outbound, meaning that we made some changes. So it's kind of all alike, but basically the what we had in mind was that to make it possible for people to do outbound in a more efficient and more human maybe way, meaning that you first have different choices, so you can go from a full predicted dialer like Wombat, so we improved the integration of Wombat into the new QueueMetrics agent page, but we also introduced two new modes that are called assisted manual outbound and the memos, in order to make it easier for agents to handle their manual outbound and to make it easier for you to manage them. So, if we want to, where shall we start? I think we should start from the assisted manual. What do you
Yes,
think?
absolutely. So let me log in as administrator here, and I will immediately show you. So, how does the assisted manual outbound work? So if we go here in the top right, you can see there is a new AMO link. This will bring you to our current AMO campaigns. So as you can see, we have one single campaign and it is linked to a queue, Q400. This is because every queue can have one campaign. So by clicking on the queue, we can go here. This is the usual settings of the queue, but at the bottom now you will find a new section called AMO settings. As you can see here is enabled. Since this is enabled, you see the equivalent campaign in the AMO section. So if you want to enable AMO for a queue, you need to go to the queue settings and enable it from here. Here we have a few items of information. Now we will go very quickly through them to explain. So as I said, this is to enable the AMO for the queue. There is a max attempts field. This is important because if you make an assisted manual outbound call and it doesn't work out, and you might want to reschedule this call at a later date, by essentially indicating here the number of seconds that you want to pass at least to make sure this call is rescheduled again, and how many times you want to reschedule a call in case it doesn't succeed. The valid outcome field here is also very important for this because it's basically the outcome that decides if the call has been completed or not. So in this case, for example, we have selected outcome S. If I go and see outcome S, what it is, it's a sale. So we don't want to recall the same number again if, for example, we have completed a sale. So by changing these settings down here, as I said, we can then create the AMO campaign here. And by editing the campaign, we can add different lists to this campaign. So a list, very simply, is a list of numbers that will be part of the pool of outbound calls. You can have more than one list, and each list can have different weights. So you can essentially tell QueueMetrics which list should have priority. If you want to give a list more priority, you just give them a higher weight. Or you could divide it 50-50, because every time an agent requests an assisted manual
Call.
outbound call, they will be picked at random based on the weights from the list of the queue.
Exactly. The what is different if you are used to Wombat? Wombat, the idea behind Wombat is that Wombat will go through lists from the beginning to the end, and then will go through another list and another. With AMO, the idea is that all lists are open in parallel, but you can schedule while they're running. you can decide how likely is a list will be picked in order to get one of the numbers from it. You can also pause and unpause them independently. So, for example, you notice that the list is underperforming, and you have some list to finish because this specific activity must be finished within 2 p.m. today. You can pause all the other lists, and agents they just won't care. They just will get all the numbers from the list you want.
Exactly. So if we go inside the list here, we can see, aside from a few stats about the list, the numbers that were added, completed, pulled from the list, we have some notes. We can decide the weight. We can pause the list the way you were saying before. And I have removed all numbers from this list, because if I go inside the edit number here, you will find no numbers. From here, you can create new ones manually, but to make things easier for everyone, we have added an upload numbers button, and here you can upload a CSV file. I have one here. It's called AMO list. If I import this here, you will see that then going to edit the numbers, I do have a list of numbers inside. These are numbers to be called. They have other attributes that are specific for the list, so you can put as many as you want. And some of them, if you want, can also be logged as variables for the call. You can decide this by going back to that section before in the AMO. Here in the AMO setting of the queue, for example, I want name and surname to be logged as variables. So not all the attributes of the list. We don't want our database to fill up too much, but you can pick and choose.
Exactly.
So as you can see, very simple. We have campaigns, we create lists on them, we add numbers, and then uh,
Let's
any
see how
agent,
it works.
exactly, any agent for that matter. Let's say we log in as agent 999 here. So agent 999 here is a regular agent. You can see he is logged in on queue 400. You can see here is tagged as an AMO queue,
Exactly.
because the idea here is we want agents to be able to log in and out of AMO queues just as if it was a regular queue, because in fact it is a physical queue on your system.
So,
And do you want to add anything to this?
yes, the idea is that from the point of view of the agents, there is nothing they have to learn or use some other tool or whatnot. They basically log in as they would to a normal inbound queue, but instead it's an AMO queue. And when they are on an AMO queue, they can say, "Hey, tell me give me the next number to call." That's the only thing that they have to do.
Exactly. And the way we do that is, for example, in this case, this agent has a soft phone enabled. You can see it here. But if they just have a physical phone, it will work the same. The panel will just be a little different, but you will still find this button here that, as you can see here, it says request AMO call. By clicking on this button, you can see it immediately requested a call. You can see here I have information about the numbers and everything I need. So by just clicking on this button, you obtain information for a call, and then a call, if the AMO call has to be done yet, it will appear, it will call automatically, the phone will answer automatically, so the agent only has to click that button,
Exactly.
and it will automatically open the call details page for this call. As you can see, this is the regular call details page, but if the call is an AMO call, it does have an additional panel below here with the attributes of the call that we are interested in. And by doing this, it is very important because we can, as the agent, label the interaction. So we can
Exactly.
add the outcome that we were talking about before. In this case, let's say we don't want the call to be recalled again. It's a
Because
complete call. We spoke with the customer. We sold whatever we had to sell. We just add the sale outcome here. And by adding the sale outcome here, the call will not be added again in the pool of calls. In fact, you can see here the outcomes appear on the call. So just to show you again, you can come here, select the outcome sale. This can be done also from this panel here, you just press the outcome, and it will appear after QueueMetrics has done his loading. It will appear here in the list of calls.
Exactly.
So by doing this, we can ensure the call is not put back in the pool,
Hmm.
and this is how you decide basically if calls are if calls are completed or if they have to be scheduled again.
Exactly. So it's the idea is that as you can see from the point of view of an agent, an AMO call is basically one button. So there is nothing they have to learn, and it will be very easy to for them to manage. If we can, if you want, Kevin, we can show how the campaign looks like after a few calls have been made.
Yes, so let's go back to the demo admin account here. If we go to the AMO and we go back to the list, here we can see numbers completed has increased by 1 because we have added the correct outcome. And here in the list, you will see all the statistics for the list, including the last poll, so the last call that was called from this list. Also, since we added that before, we wanted to so here is all the information about the calls that we are making, and in here you will find that the well, now we have a lot of calls going on, but you will have the attributes of the call marked as variables correctly, so that the name and the surname specifically are also saved in our database, not
or
just.
or yes, or whatever you want to, for example, the ID of the CRM interaction, or whatever you want to keep track of, so that it will appear when you click on the details of the call. They will be available in reports through the API and whatever you want to do.
Exactly. So
Uh,
this, I think this is.
just just a
Yes.
second. I see that we have a question whether the list is shared between multiple agents. Yes, that's the whole idea, because the list is shared between multiple agents because these numbers do not belong to one specific agent, but are basically to be done. And agents can log into one or multiple campaigns depending on what they want to do, and or what they need to do, or what their supervisor wants them to do. Maybe it's more correct. And so the agents they just say, give me the next number based on what I'm expect to be doing. They don't need to do anything else. They don't need to worry about it. The system makes sure that, of course, the same number is not given to multiple. Piece of news about the way we perform outbound, that is the memos.
Yes. So, aside from the AMO system, we have implemented a new system here. I will show you immediately. So, oh, sorry, wrong agent. My bad. Let me go back to the one that we were using before, agent 999. So here, we do have a new memo system. So the memo system is basically the evolution of what used to be the task system in QueueMetrics. Some of you might remember it, but it has been obviously majorly improved. It has 3 different views that detail the different memos depending on the day. So we have the daily list that shows us memos that are only for today or the day we select here on the top. We have the weekly schedule, like it's very similar to Google Calendar, for example. So it divides the week and it shows the memos based on the week. Or we do have the manager that is basically a search engine that has a series of filters that allow us to search memos, filtering by date, by type, or category, or different things.
But
Um,
what is a memo? Why
A
do we
memo,
care?
very simply, it can be about, there are different types, but let's see just a couple of the most useful ones. So let's say I want to create a new memo. We pick type note, which is a very simple note. We will send it to ourselves, so agent 999, and I'll just write a simple message. These are some notes. So if I save this memo here for today, you will see it appears immediately in our list. It will also appear here on the weekly. So these memos can be done and sent to different agents. And since we have received a memo, even if we created ourselves, it will appear here in the top right in the notifications, as you can see.
So
So by
basically,
clicking anywhere here or here on the name of the memo, it will take us to the details of the memo.
basically the idea is a memo is just one of these things that have a commercial name that I don't want to say now, but one of these yellow things that you put on your screen so that
Yes.
you can basically keep track of things for yourselves or to send somebody else. The idea, especially in this context, is to keep track of calls that have to be made. So maybe you contact somebody or somebody contacts you and they say, "Oh, I cannot speak now, but let's talk Wednesday at 2 p.m." And you say, "Okay, that's good." And what do you do next? You historically you would write this down somewhere and hope or send it to Wombat, but it would be quite complex to keep track of. I mean, it meant copy and paste, copy the number of this person and whatnot. With the
Yes,
memos,
it's a very simple way to take notes about things. And especially the thing that I like them particularly for is that we have different type of memos that eventually will do more and more things. So for example, a very simple example is the recall memos. We have here in the call details on the right a new button that says new recall note. And basically, by clicking on this, it will create a memo of type recall. You can, again, send it to whoever you want. We'll just do it to ourselves for now. It has an extra field, which is the number to be called. Of course, this is not an existing number, but it's just a demo system. You can just leave some message here. And if I save this and go back to my to my daily task here, you will see that I have this new recall memo in my list. Now, the useful thing about this is that if I open this memo, it does have an extra field here with a button that if I click it directly, it will immediately start a call to that specific number. So it's essentially a version of the click to dial feature that you see often based though on memos that were created manually by the agents.
exactly. But on a previous version of QueueMetrics, what you would do is, okay, I have the call list in front of me. I need to recall this person, so I have a copy to copy their number, put it, I don't know, on a note on my computer. Uh, Write down the fact that I have to call them again at a specific time. Remember this, then copy again and paste it into the outbound the outbound dialing option. Select the correct campaign and then dial. At this point is click here and then click when the memo is up for is ready to be done. You just click again once. So this saves a
Exactly.
ton of time and lets you be more focused and more organized.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very easy, I think, to send memos backwards and forwards, and it can be a tool that many companies can use to and implement to their benefit. We tend to leave these very flexible so that everyone can adapt them to their own specific workflow. So they are not super specific in their functions. But the recall one is something that we have received a lot of questions about, a lot of interest for any sort of click to dial features. So I think this is a good solution. Here in the list, in the daily, you can quickly change the status of a memo. So you're just clicking here, it will be counted as done. So it will change the status from pending to completed. And as I said, yes, it's you can see them in gray here when they are completed.
Exactly.
So they will change color has a very simple impact, and you will see them here as well. So I think this is more or less everything about the memos. It's
Okay.
not a hugely complex system, but we hope it can be very flexible and helpful for agents.
Exactly. So the other area that we did a bit of work about is on reports, where we did a couple of things on numbers that I believe are quite interesting. because the people have been asking for them for quite a while. Kevin, can you show us what it's all about?
Yes, absolutely. So the first thing we want to show you is that something that historically we always offered as a feature is the VIP number feature, or the known number feature, as it's called. And here we can specify numbers that are somehow known to us. Usually, this was used mainly through the APIs. It kind of created a system where you could decide how to maybe to check if a number was already known. Then maybe you could, through some dial plan magic, route it through some more high priority queues. Now we turned this section into more of a database of actual numbers that QueueMetrics is aware of. So by specifying, for example, this number here and giving it a name, um, we will see now that going through the reports, let me just load this one so I can show you. This is a, there we go. So we can see it here, VIP number, see? So this number was recognized by the system and marked correctly by updating the caller ID. And this is available throughout QMetrics, so not just here in the reports.
Also, but also from the agent page, also from on wallboards, also through the APIs. So that's as if the number had this specific name when it originally came in.
Exactly. And always, like, if we stick to this topic of numbers, we do have a second feature that I think is also very useful in some situations. And it is the possibility to hide the numbers from specific users. So sometimes, to protect the customer's personal information, you don't want just anyone to see their phone number. A lot of people have to work with calls, but don't necessarily need to know the specific number. So now we have added a feature to hide numbers from specific users. In particular, I will show you quickly here. I have two administrators here. One is the one I'm using now, and you could see the numbers. This is an admin with hidden numbers, and they hold a key called hide numbers.
Exactly.
If they hold that security key by logging in as that specific agent and logging into the same exact report, because that is a public report, so the information is available to everyone. We will see here that all the numbers have been substituted with what is basically a hash of the original number. So it still holds the information about the number, its unicity, but it doesn't show the number
There
anymore.
is no way for people to get the number back. This is what is really important here is that differently from VIP numbers, this setting is a per is switched on a per user basis. So you can decide that some agents, for example, will not see the numbers of people calling in, but for example, some administrators will be able to see them and some other administrators won't.
Exactly.
And again, when hiding the numbers, you have a choice of different policies. So you can decide, for example, in this case, the policy is hashing. This means that every number basically gets a unique hash. So the same hash is the same number even if you don't know which number it is. But in other cases, you may want to just remove the number completely. So just say like a dash, or more often you will want to basically remove the last digits. So you can remove like the last three digits so that it will appear as stars or anything, so that depending on what you want to do, you have different options of deciding who is actually going to see what it's the information about the number. Again, once this is switched on for a user, this is system-wide. So however the user accesses the system, whether it's the agent page or reports, wallboards, APIs, whatnot, if the numbers for them are hidden, they are always hidden. As if
Yes,
the original number that was received from the network is the one that you see here.
exactly. Yeah, no information should ever pass across. And since we are already here in the reports, I also wanted to show you very quickly a new filter. So we added a new filter to reports. It's the lost attempt filter. This I feel is very important to identify if there are specific agents that are severely underperforming in terms of replying to phone calls. So, um, an attempt is when a phone rings, very simply. So, a call arrives in a queue, the PBX tries to uh, place it to different agents. If it tries to place it to an agent and the agent doesn't answer,
Then it's a
it
lost.
generates a lost attempt. So now we can filter for lost attempts. For example, we can search for all the calls that try to call me in this case, and I didn't reply. So let's see. From 459, we go down to 27 calls. You can see they all have multiple attempts. And I am expecting that if I open this, I will see a ring cancel, ring no answer for me. Exactly. This means that at 1508, this call tried to call me and I didn't reply.
Exactly. See, for example, that in this case, the call was had first a ring no answer and then connected to the same agent.
Exactly. Then I replied after another attempt.
Exactly.
But still, it's, it is very useful, I feel, to identify trends.
Yes, it's also useful to spot specific issues because while it was very easy to, for example, find all the calls that were made by a specific number or to a specific number, or that ended up connecting to a specific agent, it was harder to find calls that didn't connect to a specific agent. So,
Exactly.
and this is pretty useful because very often you want to see if you think that there is a trend, you will try and understand whether this issue was just for the last 24 hours because their soft phone is broken, or if this is consistent and has been so for the last 6 months. So it's pretty important to be able to identify in which case it is that you're actually seeing. And
Exactly.
the other thing that I see is that we also have we've done a number of things on the import and export of reports on wallboards.
Yes, so specifically, I wanted to show very quickly something. So in the previous major release of QueueMetrics, we have released a feature called custom data blocks, where basically you can create a new data block based on existing ones. Let's say we have this agent activity one. It's based on the answered calls by queues. It's an existing data block already, but we only take the first two columns and then we create a radar chart based on these two columns. So we do have this custom data block on this system. But what happens if you export a report and import it on a system where that custom data block doesn't exist? All right, so this was the problem. I will show you very quickly here. So if I load this report here, we have this agent activity block here. It has its radar chart, the information it needs. It divides the number of calls by agent, something that can be very simple and useful. And basically, if I now export this report, I'll call it custom data block here, and I go to the custom data block page where we were before. We take this agent activity one, we delete it so it's not on the system anymore. So let's say I come back in, I want to import this report that we just exported. So we go here on the import button. It will open a little panel here. We just import the data block again, upload the file. It will take a second, and then it says imported successfully. It will load it, and you will see that despite having deleted the custom data block, it is actually present here. The interesting thing is that if I go to the custom data block here, despite having deleted it before, it has now been created. This is because now QueueMetrics can read these export import uh, files that are generated, checks if there are any custom data blocks, looks for them on the destination system. If they are not present, then it creates them from scratch.
It's
So you can be sure.
what is interesting is that Data blocks can be used not only in reports but also on the wallboards. So you can now create things that are pretty different and pretty powerful compared to what used to be possible before. And we
Exactly.
also have created how can I say, a place in order to get a number of reports and wallboards that are ready made and that you can use as an inspiration to develop your own, or because they just fit your use case. Or
Yes,
you,
just important because they are useful to you.
exactly, they are written in a JSON format, and this can be shared through GitHub. And if you want to, and create something that looks particularly good, or you think that could be useful for somebody else, we would very much appreciate if you wanted to contribute them
Absolutely.
to the public repos so that other people can benefit. So it's I see that there is a comment on this, and yes, I think it's pretty useful. And when we started when we started with the new wallboards, we noticed that a lot of people were creating things that we didn't really expect. So we expected things that were kind of grayish, let's say, nothing fancy. But people were creating things that were very interesting and very eye-pleasing. And I believe that if we could share this, it would be interesting because you can learn from other people and create something better for you and for everyone. The other thing that is that is in that repo that is a little bit less poetic, but it's still, I believe, interesting, is that the default version of reports that come with QueueMetrics can be also downloaded. So, for example, if you want to use one of the default reports that you ended up modifying or deleting or let's say changing in a way that was not totally that you're not really happy with, you can just re-download it without having to like install the system. That would be kind of
Exactly.
overkill for what you need to do.
Yes, it's. I believe it's very useful in terms of even you want to share, even if you want to migrate your system.
Exactly, because you can just take it from one side, or you would want to create a new system that not really contain all the data, but
Yeah, yeah. Without having to migrate everything, you can just take the reports and move them there. Or you can have the same if you are installing multiple systems. You can create your own reports that maybe are more fitted to the use case of your customers, and then you can prepackage them with some original reports. It opens a lot of possibilities
exactly.
depending on what your use case is.
Exactly. The talking about other things that have changed, this version of QMetrics ships with the new version of the Uniloader. That is, it has a couple of minor features more in terms of data uploading and checking. But what is really important is that we created a new way to install the system, meaning that one of the limitations that we had was that we historically decided to ship native packages only for CentOS and derivatives because most distribution were based on CentOS. Now, what we nowadays this is a bit less important because while distributions used to be very different, now they are all based on systemd. And being all of them based on systemd means that we can just script a very simple install for Uniloader that can be where you can just basically decompress the Uniloader, launch a single file, and this will install it whether you are on CentOS, on Debian, or wherever. So this will work in most cases. The other thing that is interesting is that we expect, many years ago, you used to install QueueMetrics typically on the same box as the PBX because there were not many virtual machines. Most of the systems were installed on bare metal, and so you basically had no choice. Nowadays, this is not really true. So we suggest basically only installing uniloader on the same box as the PBX, and then moving everything else to a separate system.
Yeah, dedicated system.
To a dedicated system. Nowadays, you can basically share everything else through Uniloader, that is able to share even recordings and anything else, so that it can you don't have to put things on the same place. And the other thing that is important is that nowadays it's something that is very easy for most people. Will be the easiest option will be to simply use Docker in order to install QueueMetrics, because there is basically no reason not to use it. There is no performance hit in running things under Docker, and it's just one line. It can run on any operating system. So for most people, unless you need very fine control of the activation of services or debugging, but for most people, Docker will be, in my opinion, the best way to install the system. And of course, we will keep on distributing, in any case, the bare packages that you have to install manually, but we do not really suggest doing so, and the CentOS packages that we still support, so it can still work on any CentOS or derivative. We suggest Rocky 9, but there are a number coming out at this point. So I think that's that this is, after this kind of historical rant, I think we can. Is there any question that anything that is of specific interest? Well, if you do, feel free to
text it in chat,
or
chat, even ask to our support.
Yes, of course, you're always free to contact us afterwards. Well, if there is nothing special here, I think that's basically we have gone through the most important items that were on version 24.5. So I think that you are ready to go test it. It of course works with your existing license. And let us know how it goes, and if what you like and what you don't. And in any case, if there is any issue, we're here to help. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
See you.